everyone, welcome back to RTS and welcome back to another Record the Story Disney version. Yes, we're going to do another Disney page today. Yes, and we're also going to work on Load, which stands for Layout a Day. And if you want more information about Load, just look in the description box below. So the theme for Load in August, we had a mini Load. It was Out of This World, and so I'm working on day 6 prompt, and I'm not working them in order because, you know, that's just the way life throws you sometimes. I just can't work them in order. So, and that's the beauty of Load. You work on it when you can, and then you can work it with a group if you choose to. So day 6 is something that takes energy, something that uses energy, and something you gravitate towards. Now for both of those prompts, and there was a couple other things, but those are the two that stuck out at me. And for me, something that takes up a lot of my energy and something I put a lot of energy in is scrapbooking. And I've done layouts about scrapbooking, so I thought, well, that's not going to really what I want to do this time. And then another prompt was something I gravitate towards, which again is scrapbooking. So I just thought I need to find something. So long story short, I had some photos to my left that were about a recent Disney trip, and I love using a big trip like Disney or another place like that with Load prompts, because then you take stories of just, you know, where you were and what you were doing, but then you take an angle to it. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to use these 3 photos, something that takes energy, and yes, that's all the walking you do in Disney. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use these 3 photos on a 1-page layout today. Now, what I decided to do was I'm using my Pink Fresh BU knockoff kit that I created. I will have that video linked below if you're interested in how I created this knockoff kit. So of course, you know, the colors in my photo match the colors in this Pink Fresh BU knockoff kit. And so I'm happy to play with these colors. Yes, I love having kits ready because now I have the photos, I have my idea, my prompt, my story idea, and so I can just run with it. And you know, you get to creating so much quicker when you have a kit, okay? And I always suggest having more than one kit ready in your room. Yes. Okay, so with this kit, not only do I have my papers, I have alphas, and then of course I have this 12 by 12 sticker sheet all ready to go. And I have some scraps, which that's going to come in handy, and I have all these embellishments. Look at this. Everything I could possibly need are in these bags. All these die cuts and washi and Flair and buttons and chipboard. Yes, yes, happy. And then I also had 2 6 by 6 pads, which you're going to see why they come in handy in just a minute. So I decided to look through. I was looking at sketches very quickly, and when I look at sketches, I don't spend a lot of time. It has to jump out at me real quick or I just move on. So I pulled out my Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine, meaning that I go on when they offer their digital magazine and I print out layouts that pertain to my style, and I found one from summer of 2017. Now this page is called South Beach, Miami by Ashley Smith, and you see how she has 3 photos. I like the design because I wanted to do something different, or what I can do is I simply can use these 3 photos and do them in a grid fashion, just something like this. Okay, so I may choose to do that. 3 photos on one layout, that's basically your landscape right there. I mean, that's a lot of real estate on a 12 by 12 page. So I may decide to cut them down or keep them as a whole. I can cut these down because it's the story, not really exactly what's in the photo. That is my story. So I can cut them down. And so then I thought I may do that, do something a little different. You know, of course, I just had a video about visual triangles. And so, of course, when I saw these 3 photos and these 3 layering clusters with photos, I thought, oh, visual triangle. So I definitely could do that and do something fun. Of course, you know, it ties in with my mood and feel of walking. So I thought about doing that. We'll see how that goes. So I thought, what do I am going to need? I'm going to need 2 pieces of 12 by 12 paper and then some layering pieces, which of course I could tackle and use a lot of these scraps. That's right in with my kit. Or I could pull out these 6 by 6 papers. And so I have Fresh Cut here by Basic Gray. Beautiful papers. I mean, just a variety of colors. So definitely good with that. And then Dear Lizzie Serendipity, which, you know, some of these, when I saw this constellation page, I thought, wouldn't that be good for a Tinkerbell page or Peter Pan? Yes. I just somehow have Disney on the brain lately. I don't know. sometimes you just need to go to a happy place, and for a happy place, a magical place, in my brain, that's Disney, yes. Now, on this trip, my little girl, my sidekick, was not with me, but I'm trying not to focus on that so much. So, I need 2 pieces of paper, and if you look in Ashley's layout here, which this is beautiful, I will have the link below if you want to go to Scrapbooking Cards today and look at their digital magazine. Just beautiful work. Every page in that magazine is just beautiful, okay? We don't get a lot of magazines anymore, so this is the only one I really know that's still around. And I love the embellishment that she has going on. I love how her title was very simple but very stated, and just some fun elements that I thought I want to play with. So that's my plan. I'm only going to need 2 pieces of paper, so let's see what I'm going to play with. Now, because the photos are going to be so busy, my layering is going to be so busy, my colors are going to be so busy, I know I'm going to use white just like that showed in the layout. So I know I have white back here somewhere. Okay, so this is the very beginning. Look how fast, you know, I have my kit out. That's fast. I have a sketch, and I have a load prompt. I have everything going on. Now I can just get to start to playing, which I love that, okay? See what I mean by if you take these 3 photos, and if you leave them in the 4x6 format, look how much real estate that takes up. That's a quick page, but I'm really not into doing a quick page. I want the story. So I'm probably going to cut these down, maybe do what Ashley did. So when I'm looking at this and considering my story in my brain, the papers I pick, I want to help convey that mood and feel theme when I do that. So I'm looking for anything with directions, anything with maps, anything navigational. So the plaid is going to be out, and so what I'm going to do is just putting my white here, and because I'm using it as a background, okay, I don't want to do foil. No, that's too country. No, floral, I can skip that. So I'm looking for basically no floral, so I'm looking for geometrics. Well, there's a diamond pattern, kind of. Well, now this is a geometric. Look at this. So because remember, I'm going to have about a 1/2 inch mat the whole way around. That just looks like walkways, doesn't it? Yeah, that's all you have at Disney is walkways. So that's a choice. That's too abstract, too floral. Well, anytime you're doing Disney, you can definitely do circles. But I do not have a 12x12 in that, so no floral. Now this would be nice. Look at this geometric. Oh, look at that. So if you look at this 1/2 inch, that looks like walkways. That's Disney, baby. Yeah. Let's see, another geometric. Too Aztec for me. And no. Oh, look at this orange. Wonder what this would be. And so I'm just holding up this white cardstock that I'm going to use as my base to see what my outline is going to look like on my background. No floral. So I think that's my 2 choices, but that's a good head start. Well, and I love those palm leaves, so I'm just going to put that in there. Yeah, okay. So now I can put this whole stack of paper away that was in my knockoff kit. So look how quick having a kit makes my decisions. Of course, you know, I recently did these 2 on a page, so I'm going to try not to do that exactly, but it doesn't matter. They're not going to be in the same album, so it doesn't matter. So those are my papers, my 12x12 papers, and then I will play with some of these different paper pads. I think it will be this one, so I might as well just plan on picking that, or I can use all these paper scraps to get in those layering. Okay, now my title, what will my title be? I have my wax paper ready. And it's going to be, it takes energy. I'm taking that right from the load prompt. It takes energy. And that's exactly what, when you go to Disney, and every one of you that has been to Disney or a huge amusement park, not just Disney, you know it takes energy. So that's what I'm going to do. It takes energy. Now, what color and all that? Well, in my kit, this is my choices. And so I'm not going to pick out an alpha till I decide on some papers yet. So those are my choices. I have an orange. Okay. I'm also going to take a cue for my photos and do that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then here's what I saw in my kit. Okay, now remember, when I'm building a kit, I have no idea what I'm going to do. But guess what I saw? I saw these 2 stickers. I guess, what do they call them? This is by We Are Memory Keepers. It was called the It Factor. Wood stickers is what they call them. Okay. Now, I have these 2 stickers that says Night Owl and Early Bird, and I'm definitely going to put those on there because, you know, when you go to Disney, what's the 2 things? You want those extra magic hours. So either you're doing rope drop or you're staying at the end of the day and get those few extras. So I'm definitely going to use Night Owl and Early Bird. I'm going to put them here on my wax paper, and I'm going to use those as subtitles somewhere. on my page. Maybe I'll just end up doing one. Maybe I'll just end up using early bird because I do rope drop more so than staying late because, you know, old folks go to bed at 8:30. Yes, so definitely I'm going to get those in. Now again, when I was building this kit, I didn't know I was going to use that, but it definitely goes with my story. Yes, love that. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. I will come back with a finished page using my Pink Fresh BU knockoff as my starting point, and then also too using this layout by Ashley Smith as my inspiration. And of course the load prompt, can't get any better than that. Okay, I will be back with a finished page. Okay, I'm back with my finished page and talk about color. Yes, you see that at Disney a lot. Any amusement park, really, you see a lot of color. So it's fun to represent that on your layout. So if you look at the layout here, and the link will be below for this, is that I definitely use this entire layout by Ashley Smith as my inspiration for this, because this is definitely a design that I don't do a lot, but I love doing it when you're talking about a subject or a theme that's more whimsical and fun, and of course that's Disney. So not only did I get a lot of color in, I got a lot of movement in. And so I want to point out, oh, I have a lot to point out. Okay, so let's just get cracking. Okay, I want to point out that if you look at my actual photos, of course they make a visual triangle, and then the clusters which the photos are on creates a visual triangle, and then the actual design of the page is one big complete visual triangle. And if you want to learn more about visual triangles and doing that design on your page, I will have the video linked below. We got quite chatty in that video. So not only do I have visual triangles within my clusters, I also, my entire layout design is nothing but a huge visual triangle. So I wanted to point that out, and you can definitely see that representation in Ashley's layout as well. Definitely the photos and her main clusters were a visual triangle. So gotta love that. Now in Ashley's layout, she used, I think it looked like twine or a heavy floss for her embellishments for her clusters. And what I did, I decided to break out a die and do some die cutting. And I have that here because I thought we would talk about that just for a minute. And so this is what the die looks like, and it's these three shapes right here. And of course those star rings make another visual triangle. Yes, okay. And so this is what this die looks like. It's a two-piece die. And I wanted to talk about that because sometimes when you're looking at dies online and such, you don't really know that it's a two-piece die. I'm not really crazy about two-piece dies, because when I saw this, I just wanted a ring, right? That's what I want. I wanted this ring. Let me see if that shows up better on a piece of white paper. This is what I wanted. I just wanted this ring. Well, of course, when you get it, it's two parts, you know. So you have the option of just doing this ring or just doing that. So I guess it's okay, but, you know, they're hard. So, of course, what I used for my die is that I used my magnetic cutting board here, and I'm using my Big Kick. Yes, I have an old school red Sizzix Big Kick. I got it years and years ago. I'm saying 9 years ago, 10 years ago. Still works beautiful. And so of course a magnetic what do you call this, magnetic platform is good when you have a two-piece die, but you don't have to have a magnetic. That's really got magnetic. You do not have to have a magnetic platform. So what you can do is just use your regular platform, and then what you would do is you would lay that out, and then you would use washi tape or a low tack. So what you can do to make your washi a low tack is to rub it across your shirt a few times, and it'll get some lint on it, and then it'll make it a low tack, and that way it won't stick to your paper or your die. And then you can position these however you want, and then just use that. Okay, so you do not have to have a magnetic platform in order to use a two-step die. And so I wanted to talk about that because I was on the fence about a magnetic platform because I don't feel that they're the cheapest. I really don't. But, you know, it's one of those things. I'm glad I have it, but it's not necessary. But I wanted to talk about it because look at that. That magnetic is serious business there. So I wanted to say something. If you have a magnetic platform, please make sure none of your electronics get near this. Do not lay your phone on top of this. No. And just, you know, you have to be a little extra careful around these magnetic, because look at that. Yeah, that's serious stuff there. Serious. I can't even pull it up. Serious stuff. So, you know, be a little cautious and definitely read the information that comes along with this magnetic platform. Okay. Now, I want to talk about something else since we're talking about die cutting. Okay. Is that, you know, you have these cutting plates here. Okay. And so often I see people have cutting mats that look like this on the front and the bottom. And so you want to prevent that, because what happens is if you use this on the bottom and if you use it on the top, then your images will start to represent this scratched look when you cut this out. Okay, your shapes will have this textured, scratchy look. So once you see that, you need to replace your cutting pad, not pads. And what do I mean by that? Because you need to cycle your cutting pads out one at a time, not two at a time. Now these come in, they come as a set, but don't do that. Don't replace them both at one time. So what you should always do is always have an ugly looking one and then always have a nice looking one. Okay, that's what you want to do. So when you are getting ready to replace your pads, keep an old one and only use one from the new pack. Okay, then what happens is once that new starts to look old, and this is the one I'm using right now, you can tell it's my old one. I have one E because I screwed up one time, but you can tell just by using this top one as my good one, it still gets some wear to it. So what you do is you want to cycle like you do your sneakers. Okay, you want to, when you get a new pair, you want to take out an old pair, but keep an old one, keep that always as the bottom, as what's getting the cut, and then keep your top one as what's always the new and pretty one. And then when this gets really bad, cycle that, put that on the bottom, and then you only get one out of your pack. I hope that makes sense. So when you open in that new pack of cutting mats, don't replace both new at the same time. No, keep an old one for the bottom, keep a pretty one for the top one, and eventually after time, you'll start getting some cuts. Even keeping this, you know, on top, it still gets some wear and tear to it. So I hope that tip was helpful, because I see a lot of people over a lot of times that they will open a new pack and use two at a time. No, make them stretch a little further, save some money over the long run, and only replace one pad at a time. You just have to make sure that when you're using your cutting pad, you want to make sure that this ugly bottom one is the one that's getting your cut from your die. Okay, so you want to have the flat surface up, and that flat surface is what's going to go right beside your pretty plate, if that makes sense. Okay, so just cycle them one at a time, not two at a time, and it just stretches your supplies just a tad longer. Yes, we have to do that. Okay, because you know it's fall and winter. We get in the mood for using a lot of dies. Okay, so I wanted to show that because in Ashley's layout, she had that representation of string. I just wasn't feeling that for Disney, so I wanted to go with stars, and so I pulled out that die that looked like stars, and I put them in each one of that. So of course, you know, it makes another visual triangle, and I overlapped them. So some of the stars overlap the photos, and some is tucked behind my actual photo layers. And so if you see all those photo layers, what I did was I just took papers from that 6x6 pad and I just cut them down. Okay, because I didn't know if I was going to do my photos in a grid or do them like it was in the layout. And so I have all these scraps. They'll just go in my little scrap page protector there within my kit. So now let's talk about the dies one more time. Okay, you know me, always have to say something, don't I? Okay, so when you're cutting your dies, I say this a lot, and I'll keep saying this because a lot of people ask me, how do you build up an inventory, because they see my color drawers and they see my color bins. Well, one of the things you can do is when you're cutting dies or you have any punches out or any stamps, whatever tool you have out, while you already have tools out and you already have scraps out, go ahead and cut a few more, punch a few more, stamp a few more. So as I had that die out, I went ahead and ran that through a couple more scraps. So because blue is something I don't have a lot of, so I went ahead and punched two more of those star rings out. And then all that paper that was left over from the actual die cutting is that I took a couple small shapes. I used a Mickey head. And then I love this Martha Stewart. I'll flip it over here so you can see it. I love this Martha Stewart stem punch because it can use the littlest of scrap, and you can just tuck those just about everywhere. So and I'll even have some little flags there because I have a project coming up. I'm going to be using those. So all that paper was just left over from my actual die. And so I thought, you know, the actual die cut. piece, and I thought, well, I'll just get out a couple punches, and that's how you build your inventory. Just keep punching those scraps as you're working on your layout. So I wanted to show that. And so I took that scrap, and you see what I'm saying? I took that scrap, and see, I just used those punches. I don't know if you can see that. I used those punches, and I utilized as much of that paper before I decided to throw it away. Yes, okay. So that's one way to get some embellishments. Just keep on punching and keep on die cutting and keep on stamping as you're creating your page. You know, you might as well. You already have the supplies out. Okay, so then what I did is I put my title here, my journaling is here, and then I just use colorful embellishments in each one of my clusters. And what I did was I just used items from my kit. I mean, I didn't even have to get off my seat for anything other than to do my dies, okay? And then I wanted to show this Flair here because someone had asked me about Flair. Okay, now what is Flair? And I don't know if I have any here. Yes, I do. I have in this other bag. I mean, look at this bag of embellishments. I had everything in this under the sun in there. Okay, so someone had asked me, what is Flair? Okay, back in the day, if you're an 80s girl, we had Flair, and what we did was we would have it, and we called them Flair pins, and we would put them on our denim jackets. Remember that? Okay, and they actually had a pin. Well, you can still buy Flair. They're called Flair or Flair badges or Flair button badges or however. Okay, you go on Etsy. There's a lot of people who sell Flair. Now, what I do is I buy flat backs, but you actually get Flair that's magnetic. Okay, so you can get them with a pin on the back. You can get magnetic. You can get them where there's a very heavy, thick back, and then this is what I have as a flat back. So that is what Flair is. It's just basically a piece of paper with a plastic epoxy coating overwards, and they're just formed to make a button. Okay, and that's what Flair is. I had gotten that question. Now, some of this Flair that I have, I think this was Fancy Pants back in the day. I know it was. They're really, really dimensional, really thick. And so what I do is I remove that back, and on my layout, this Flair right here, if you can see this down here at the bottom, I removed that. And so that's how much of that did not make it on my page, because it's too thick for me. Because then I would have to adhere this with glossy accents. Not the biggest fan of using glossy accents on something that thick, okay? It saturates the paper quite a bit. So what I did is I removed that. Now, how do I remove that? And I kind of did not know whether to say this or not, because it's something you can injure yourself if you're not careful. So I don't recommend this if you're an accident-prone type of person. But if you're someone that can take your time and not gouge yourself, then you'll be okay. So what you simply do is I just take a push pin, something that has a good handle, and then I just take this and I get between that epoxy covering and I get between that metal, and what I do is just kind of break that seal and push it back, and then I remove that. But again, if you're someone who gets cut easily, or you can injure yourself, so perhaps put on a pair of gloves, or ask your special other to do it, because you can. Okay, and you definitely want to keep it down and just keep going it around, and I just push inward till that metal releases from that cover. So that's how I do that, because I don't like this thick Flair. Okay, and I don't want to get rid of it. No, I paid for it. Okay, and so of course these are just flat backs, and that's what I buy if I was buying now. I don't buy this type anymore. And so then how I adhere this, you can definitely use glossy accents, but I find the best way is if you use a low profile foam tape. Okay, that's what a low profile means. It's not very thick. But now on these bigger ones, once I remove that inside, it's concave quite a bit. So then I have to use my thicker foam tape, and I had to put a couple layers to get that on my layout. So that is what Flair is. It's Flair badges, Flair buttons. However, I think there was another term, but if you go on Etsy, a lot of people sell. And also, I have an online friend who still has some available if you're interested, because a lot of mine came from Glorie. So I will have that linked below. So that is what Flair is. And of course, when you're talking Disney, why not get the Flair and the Fun Fair on there? Yes. So I definitely used that subtitle Early Bird, because then in my journaling, I talked about rope drop. And so that's what I did. And now in the corners here, I will tell you, this die was a nice die, but it left me with a lot of shredding on my paper. Because if you see these little pieces, like, it's not lint, but it's like paper lint that came from those dies. It just, I don't know, kind of shredded my paper a little bit. So it left little fuzzies. So in the corners of my paper, just to make your eye go in a little bit, I put white photo corners on top of my white cardstock just to keep it in. But honestly, all I really did was cut down my photos, layer it with some 6x6 papers, and did some you know, double, triple matting, things like that. And that's all I simply did. Added some embellishments, added some title, and had fun just with some Disney colors. Yes, and of course, you know, gotta add that die. So I hope that helped, showing a little bit of some die cutting tips, how to save maybe a little bit of money on your cutting pads. Again, replace one at a time, not two at a time, okay? Just be cautious or be careful that when you're putting your die on your platform, that your cut side is always towards the ugly side, okay? That helps a little bit. So, of course, I got my journaling on there, and now this font is called Ink Free. It kind of looks like a personal handwriting font, but it's not cursive, so I like it. It's a little playful. I like that when I'm doing Disney pages, and it's called Ink Free, INK FREE, and it's a free font. You can go look that up. Okay, so I think that's all I have for this start to finish, and of course a Disney page. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below, and come back, because at RTS you never know what we're going to learn. Bye.